Carlos and Chantel, welcome to Empower Network TV.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you.
Good
Thanks
to
for
be
having
here.
us.
Excited. Yeah. Well, you guys are Epic Your Life, which is your business. And we're going to jump into that today and talk about what it is, how it works, why you started it, what your journey is. But where do we start? Where does your guys' journey individually or together separately together? Where does it begin?
Well, you go first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Well, so we have been married for 12 years. Our journey began 13 and a half years ago. Carlos had just come out of a devastating divorce. He was married previously for 14 years. I was a single mom with 2 children. Both of us, no stranger to chaos, and my dad left when I was a teenager. Carlos didn't meet his biological dad till he was 7 years old. So, part of the fatherless generation that is so predominant right now, right?
Yeah.
I worked with abused and neglected kids. That was my passion. And when we came together, he was definitely like gun shy and bitter about marriage itself, right? Having been under a lot of religious bondage, if you will. I didn't necessarily have that, but I was all at the mindset of like, why would I want to be married? Like, I didn't have a good example. Everything led to divorce in my world, right? And I was like, I don't need that. So when we got together, we kind of were like, we don't need that. And then we, definitely got to a place of conviction of honor and what that looked like. And we knew that if the 2 of us were going to get married, that we had to choose to do something radically different than what was happening around us, different than what our parents went through, all of the above.
Epic.
Yeah, we had to create our own path, and it was very, very conscious and deliberate from jump. The way that we handled things, just as a couple, as co-parenting, blending a family, those kind of things. We had to do things radically different, and
the reality was we were set up for failure, if you are real about it, and I think most people would agree that when you have mixed races, like her 2 children she had were from 2 different men, and they were both Black men. And so then I'm half Mexican, she's full-blooded German. So then you start mixing her parents. She's 2nd generation. Her parents came over here on their honeymoon. So I guess that'd be first generation.
First generation
And
American.
so
Yep.
It's crazy. My grandparents came from Mexico, and I don't speak Spanish yet. But the point being is, like, you can see the drama, the blending, the mixture, and different parents and stepdad, stepmom, like all these things that come into play, right? And we knew we had to figure something out. We couldn't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did you? What was the impetus for wanting to be married? Because as you said, Chantel, you were like, well, I don't need marriage. Carlos, you came out of a battered, bruised, another casualty of marriage. Why in the world would you want to be married?
Yeah, it was interesting because we actually lived together for about 1.5 years. And, getting to the place where we knew that we wanted to be married, but we didn't want to be forced to be married, right? We didn't want to be forced by religion. We didn't want to be forced by society and those kind of things. Like, we really had to get to a place where we knew that it was about honor. It's about honoring the kids and creating an example for them, right?
And even an example of commitment.
Right.
It's like, it's really crazy because a lot of people would be like, well, when you're in love, what does that mean? Well,
it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, but the reality is it's more than that. It's a covenant, and it's a document. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest examples that ever happened to me of how important a document is, even more so than our marriage, which is strange, is when I gave some shares to some of our team members of our corporation. And I honored them and did a ceremony, gave them the document and the shares. They were now shareholders of the company. They were in tears. And in that moment, there was something very special and different about actually giving someone something physical and tangible that has your signature on it that represents something of honor. And that's what we recognize for us. And you know, the name change, the blending,
It's the covenant,
it's official. Right? Yeah, it made it official. And a lot of people were like, well, I don't want to be, you know, part of the state or whatever, all these conspiracy things. But the reality is like, look, it's not about that for us. It's about seeing this covenant and writing it, having witnesses, a very powerful thing. We actually do a very special ceremony as well that takes it to a next level too. So we now also officiate weddings together. And I've never seen that either, but we decided we wanted to do it as one flesh. We're going to help some other people become one flesh, then we would do it together. So she does part of the ceremony. I do part of the ceremony is speaking with the man on behalf of the man, and she does the same for the woman.
Okay, so, and you're throwing out terms I'm familiar with because I have a Judeo-Christian background. So one flesh. So, wow, you guys seem to have pivoted quite a bit. So I'm curious what caused the pivot? You alluded to the fact that you wanted to be married. So you obviously wanted to be with each other. Was there any hiccup going, yeah, but you know, because a lot of people are still like, I don't need that. As you said, I just don't want to skip over that too quickly because that for a lot of people, there can be a lot of fear and apprehension. Like when you see your parents weren't good and everyone around you seems to be blown apart. Why would you want to? And then let's just call it out. The finances too, right? There's that whole aspect of potentially, man, throwing your hat in the ring and in that ring, you can get really destroyed. So why did you guys want to? I know there's a reason. I just want to pull it out of you though.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, you know, we face this a lot when we work with people, and we had to face it with ourselves too, is belief. Do I believe in marriage anymore? Do I believe that marriage can work? Can marriage be good? Can it be beneficial? Can it be a blessing? Can we come in synchronicity? Or am I going to have the same chaos I had in my last marriage? And so, see, that's the real question is it possible for it to be epic? Is it possible for it to really be good, where you actually like this person, right? That you actually want to spend time with them. They're actually your very best friend, and you can trust them more than anybody else on the planet. And even, we often say this, you get to a place where I can trust her, and I do trust her more than I trust myself, Amos, which is crazy awesome, because I know she has better intentions and can see things that I cannot see. So it's a crazy thing about belief. Our belief shifted in seeing all the benefits, all the incredible things that can happen when you work together in synchronicity. Then I'm just saying, in business, in finances, in relationships, it's like scaling and duplication, right? In a business. So
yeah, before I lose this thought.
Thank you.
So I will tell you that one of the things that for me personally caused me to be at a place where I was like, yes, I want to marry this man. What I saw in him that I had never seen before in any of the men that I dated was a hunger, was a desire to be different. He had this failed marriage and he was a broken man when I met him. And what I saw was a humility and a desire for growth, that he was no longer willing to be the same person. He was willing to do whatever it took. And I watched him do whatever it took. I watched him do the work, put in the personal growth, the development, and that hunger was so radically attractive to me. And when you look at why we're committed to things, it's because we see fruit, right? We see things that bear fruit, that create a desire to continue, right? So it's easy for us to be committed when we see some results, right? And so in the process of that prior time, that's what I saw. And that's what I discovered was so beautiful and so powerful. And I knew that if we continue on this path, that we could get through anything. We could create the greenhouse where, you know, when life happens, the financial drama, the relationship stuff, like, you know, it doesn't matter, because if you have two people who are willing to do the work and they're committed, you absolutely can create what you want.
I love how
Yeah.
you spoke to hunger there, because you know something, you know what something is by what it hungers for. And in the animal kingdom, they don't have a choice, but we have a choice as humans. And, you know, anyone can hunger for fill in the blank. But what we choose to feed on physiologically, mentally, emotionally, pretty much displays your character and wide open by what are you putting in your mouth, what are you putting in your body, what are you putting in your mind. So I just love that you hit that. Carlos, go ahead. You're going to say something.
No, I mean, I think that it's a commitment that just goes to the next level too. It's kind of like that old phrase, burn the boats, right? So that you don't have any options.
Mhm.
And I think that people are afraid of commitment, but part of it is just like what we talk about. And we work with people on confidence, communication, and then commitment. And that's the crazy thing. Like, until you have more confidence, you're not willing to communicate well. And if you can't communicate well, why in the heck would you be committed to a relationship? So then we stay on very superficial, surface level relationships. And this is where the power of commitment comes in. Sometimes we have to do the commitment and jump in the water before we're ever going to learn how to swim. And then if we have mentors who can throw life, you know, a life vest or a lifeline to you and then help you through the process, that makes all the difference. But we must jump in, and because a lot of times we'll have plan A, B, C, D, and then we have so many options that we're just doing nothing. We're not moving forward. We're not taking action. So, and what's so fascinating too, we've studied a lot with the bull and yoking up. All right. So there's the term yoking up, and I know that term sometimes people don't understand. However, I'm talking literal with two bovines, two cows. It's a discipline. It's a trained process of yoking. It's a solid board that goes across both the cows' necks. And guess what? They can pull 3 times their weight as they pull together. And then you put a team of them together. It just gets super awesome and crazy. The amount of weight they can outpull modern day tractors as bulls working together, or bovine cows working together. Same principle applies here too as well, which we can see it in business. If I partner with someone and I have new team members in my company, I can scale this thing and grow it. Yet we don't think that about our legacy. It's so fascinating. Yeah. And if we can't make this work at home, why in the hell would we ever think we can make it work in business and partnering up with people? Like, this is what's so powerful, to make people aware. If I can conquer and be victorious in the home where they really know you, you can conquer it on any level. Like, that's the most intimate, where they know your deepest, darkest shit. And are they still going to want to work with you? Are they still going to want to hang out with you? Are they still going to want to be your friend? Well, that's a skill we have to learn. It comes through confidence, communication, commitment on both of our sides. It comes through balancing life and work and peace and rest and adventure and dreams. Like, we have to have these balances.
Who modeled it? Where did you see it then? You must have seen it literally or figuratively somewhere.
Well,
It's interesting. So the recipe is unique, but the ingredients are not. It's like anything else, man. Like, the ingredients we found, and a lot of it does come from some old books called the Torah, some of the oldest books ever known to man, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Torah and the canon. And you can find a lot of things there. But if you stay on the surface and don't study what the true meanings of those words are, even books and different things that we've learned from different people that are billionaires, and I wrote a billionaire profile, you start to see patterns. Yeah. And cycles and habits that they have. And so we were like, what if we did that in our home? What if we started having gratitude on a daily basis? What if we started edifying each other on a daily basis? And so it really was understanding these ingredients and bringing them in and saying, okay, how can we bring this recipe into a marriage?
Yeah. So I want to kind of piggyback on it, because Carlos is talking about, so, you know, words of wisdom that we've learned from, right, through different books and such. Both he and I have been on a personal growth and development journey. since we were young, right? So that's kind of ingrained in us. My mom was a hypnotherapist, so I had that kind of aspect that was infiltrated in my life. I worked with abused and neglected kids. So I had training on how to deal with trauma and those kind of things. So when you talk about a recipe, it's literally like you're talking a whole bunch of ingredients that have
thousands and thousands
really
of
have
hours.
been just divinely guided into the two of us and what we're creating in our home, what kind of atmosphere we wanted to create in our home, and how were we going to do that? Like what ingredients were we going to put into what our purposeful day looks like, right? With our children, with each other. How are we going to actively communicate with each other? Because listen, we all have default and it's not always pretty. So
Amos, let me ask you a question even about this, because I think it's good to use an example. Like you have your Empowered Network, you guys are starting to have little events, you have gatherings and things, and like you guys go to those things, you feel like you're on top of the world, everyone's encouraging each other, you're loving on each other, you're supporting each other, you go on this huge high, right? Because you go to an event. Do you follow me? Have you experienced that before, going to different events?
Yes. And then you come down from the event.
That's right. Exactly. So what happened was Chantel and I helped to build a community for a woman named Danny Johnson and her husband, Hans Johnson, but DannyJohnson.com. She's been around for over 30 years. Well, she retired, but for 12 years, we helped to develop her community, and she's a success coach. She's known all over the world. And so we worked with her and we saw the same thing between the two of us going together. But between the two of us, we went to over 180 events in just over 10 years, 11 years. And so we saw the very same thing, working with tens of thousands of people, helping to grow her community. And we said, there has to be a way to do a similar situation in our home, because it's like it starts in the home, man. We see all these challenges and problems in the world. If we would work and focus on the home nucleus, mother, father, child, we could truly change the world. And so for Chantel and I, we kept seeing this over and over and over and over and over. Same thing. We would go through it, go to the events, get it hyped up and feeling good, go home, and it's like face real life. So we created a miniature event for every morning for our family to connect, communicate, build confidence, process through, and take action. That's also part of it, right? And it was through these miniature events that we started to see things growing in our relationship. We've been doing this a long time now, over 12 years, probably together officially as a family. We've been doing it at least 12 years, because we've been together 13 and a half. And what's fascinating is people start to see a difference in us, way different. And so it was just us, we're like doing it. And they're like, we want to find out what you're doing. And we'd let them, we're like, I don't know, come stay with us. We just do this thing every morning.
Okay. So what does it look like today then? Let's go. You just talked about perfect segue. What is your coaching? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's very fascinating. It's crazy. I'll start with this, then I'll let Chantel describe it. It used to take us anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a day. So, and it was so crazy. We'd have people come over and try it, stay the weekend with us, or stay the week, or even live with us for a season to learn what we were doing. And we knew that wasn't going to fly. And everyone's like, this is really awesome, but no way can we do it for that long. So this is where then my Epic 30 has come in. A 30-minute process, right? We've all heard of the hour of power, and we're ready to give that. Well, we live in a society that's not going to work anymore, man. So we have to cut it down. And so we've refined it over the years, many, many, many times to my Epic 30.
So my Epic 30 is a process that we utilize. But developing that came from, like Carlos said, we would have people come and stay with us. They were like, you guys need to do marriage retreats. And we're like, huh, really? What? Okay. Well, all right. So we thought, well, one time, we were like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's see what that looks like. So, it's kind of like throwing stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks, right? We didn't know. So we did. We had a retreat and wow, it was pretty powerful. Okay, so we're going to do another one. right? So that caused us to develop more of a curriculum with what we do in our home, right? So that's where My Epic 30 was developed. We started doing retreats, all over the nation. We'd rent a big home, gather some people and just teach them what we do. So then COVID hit. Well, that shut everything down. Well, we had meanwhile moved to Georgia, and really the blessing that COVID was it kind of then created a have to of doing something online, right? So we did a virtual event, a virtual retreat, and then it turned into, okay, well, we're going to create some online content because here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we had to really reverse engineer it, if you would, to see what was it that was even getting results when people would come and do these things with us in our retreats. And we're very holistic and very hands-on. We believe in that, being in person. However, if we stay stuck in that, obviously we couldn't have grown and we would have never created the content. We were doing the content at our retreats, but now we had to get something that was concrete and official. And that's where Connection DNA was born, because that was our passion. Our heart was to help people come and be connected in their homes. And so it's how we created the online course. And what else? We started looking at all the things, though, that we were doing that was getting results. And now we've really created an incredible mastery program that's very holistic, takes accountability, right? We sit here and say, Amos, that, what is it that works? Each person, we tailor it differently for each person. And we work with couples, but individuals. We work with households, but always the individual, because I need to work on me first and my identity. I need to help create my best identity so it'll give me more confidence, be willing to communicate, and then I'll be committed to that relationship. And then I'll be able to create in me and others, with others, a more deep, intimate relationship, get more to the heart versus the surface stuff.
Do you guys ever sit back and go, wow, like, look what we've done over the years? Because it sounds like a lot.
I will tell you, just even recently, we've had a number of clients who either were not married, they've gotten married, we've married them, and or they were married, they lived with us, and didn't believe they were going to have children. Several of them are pregnant, they're growing their families. So
we've had children named after us. Seriously, 2 different occasions where the middle name was named after us just because we impacted their lives so much.
But when we deal with people who don't have the hunger, and we do get frustrated, and we're like, oh man, like, we see so much potential, you could totally overcome this, and they just choose not to, right? So there's times when you work with people in general where you're just like, man, this is rough. Yeah. It's those stories that definitely give you that spark, that infuse that hope, that joy. And for me, it's really powerful because, again, Carlos mentioned that I'm first generation American. My parents came over on their honeymoon and stayed. My mom has family that's still in Germany, some who didn't have children, right? And what we're looking at now is they're in their 80s and 90s and they have no one. They're put in a systemized home. They have no children to look after them, to concern themselves with what happens to them at this point. And they're just stuck. And I look at that and I'm like, man, this is why the family is so important, why we're called to go forth and multiply. This is why family, children, legacy is important. And you have 40-year-olds who believe that they're just called to be single. And it's so sad to me because I look at the result of some of these family members in Germany, and I'm like, man, it's tragic. It is tragic. We're here. Yep. We have our family, our parents close by. We're excited to nurture them in their older years. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like if they had nobody, if they didn't have children. Like, that's the result of that. So,
and what's fantastic, Amos, just to talk about results too, is this process, it starts at home and we do it at home. And of course, I've been in business consulting for many, many years and developed many companies, worked with startups, worked with $100 million businesses up to $1 billion companies. And this is what's so fascinating. The results that we've been able to create, it's compounded. At first, it was really, really, really slow. And then through the years, and then in the last 3 years, when COVID hit, we went from paying rent in California to owning, it's anywhere between $4 to $5 million ranch in Georgia. And we just finished during this COVID time also building mom and dad a home here on our property. And so it's crazy to see what's happened. And when I stop and think like, what was it that we did? It's the little things done well every day that create the miracles, that create the supernatural epic stories. Just like we see with Michael Jordan, the late Kobe Bryant, they did the fundamentals every day, and they did it more than anybody else in that world of basketball. And that's the same thing we do with our home. Together with our children daily, the repetition. Our children are involved too, and then we help others to do the same. And we've seen result after result after result. It's been phenomenal.
Well, that. What is it saying about that? Wow, they're a 20-year overnight success. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. It's so true. It's so true. Yeah. In a world that's so disconnected, we are passionate about connection. We're passionate about the how, and confidence, communication, and a commitment is the recipe for how, right? For how to gain.
How do you tease someone? Sorry, how do you tease someone who shitty childhood or shitty family situation, no marriage prior or it blew apart? How do you give them hope? Because they could be watching you going, sounds amazing, but
The unicorn.
yeah, what do you say to that?
Your fairy godmother can come sprinkle it over your head, Amos, and you'll just magically have this epic marriage, epic relationships where the sex is so good, super hot, incredible, where you love being together and you just can't get enough of each other. Sounds fake, right? It really does. And again, it's so fascinating how it does. But let me tell you how it works. This is the reality of what we do, Amos. It's like this. When you were younger, right? You were born walking, right? And you had to learn how to ride a bike, hopefully. And what's crazy about riding a bike is that if no one ever taught you to ride a bike, or if no one ever taught you how to swim, Amos, you would not want to ride a bike. You would not want to go swimming. You would be like afraid of the water even, potentially, right? Because you have no experience, and that's what we're dealing with in our planet right now. People don't know what it's like to have these incredible, deep, passionate relationships, not even just with your spouse, but with others.
Yeah.
How to connect on a deeper level and actually have something that's meaningful, not superficial. And so it's crazy because people do think it's fake. It's not real. Are you always this happy? Are you always this nice and kind? Do you always love people this way? And it's like, well, it's a habit now. But I had to first get on that bike, and I had to first pedal those wheels and then take the training wheels off, right? And it's the same thing, brushing your teeth, same thing with taking a bath. When you first start, if you think back, you can't remember actually. Amos, you can't remember when your parents taught you to brush your teeth, but you brush your teeth now, don't you?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about making my bed. I only started making my bed, this is the truth, like 2 years ago because Jordan Peterson videos when I was at 45, I started making my bed because I was like, why the hell would I make my bed? I'm getting in it at the end of the night. That's stupid.
No.
He talked about the fact of getting wins stacked up. And so I
Right.
started, and I would never not make my bed now, unless I'm on vacation, that's different. But so I understand the principle of what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the same. That's what we do here.
Mhm.
We teach you to brush your teeth. We hold you accountable, right? The brushing your teeth is such a powerful one because what we do is through the repetition of brushing your teeth every morning, every night with your parents, you gained confidence on how to do it. They taught you at first, you brushed their teeth, or your teeth were brushed by your parents. That built the confidence. They communicated with you that it's important to brush your teeth because if you don't, you got to have them for the rest of your life and you're not going to be able to eat. And they gave you the stories, right? You're rot out. And then what? You need them. They're very important. So then you brushed your teeth too, even more, right? More committed. And then through the stories, through the communication, through doing it over and over and over, you now are committed to that. You brush your teeth morning and night. And what's crazy is that's what we do here. It's the science and understanding of holistic, being able to hold you accountable, encourage you, tell you the stories, walk you through the process, the little things done over and over and over again that make it to where you not only will brush your teeth, Amos, but you'll teach your kids to do the same. You probably did if you have kids. I'm sure you did. So it's crazy, right? And even the sniff test, my mom, go back in there and use soap this time. And it's true. We all have to learn that way. Repetition, repetition. That's what we do here. Yeah. And it's real. And we've duplicated it multiple times. You got to see Jesse and Adina Kaufman. That's a product of what we do here.
Okay, I want to push back just for the sake of it's just entertaining too. But I want to push back a bit and go, okay, make me a believer. So I'm pushing back. I'm going, pierce the veil for me, because I've never been married. I've loved, a lot of people have loved, and whether, you know what I mean? Like they've not hit that, let's say the level you guys are at. How do you paint the picture for them of what's possible? Probably for, I'm going to guess, half the populace of what's possible that is hearing all this and going, it doesn't fully land. What it does is it teases me in the ears, maybe in the heart. It sounds great. You guys look like you're in sync, but how do you bridge for people that have not been to Disneyland? You're telling about Disneyland. They've seen pictures. They've never gone on the ride. So how do you sell that?
Happily ever after, right? How do you sell the happily ever after? It's real. It's really through the experience. It's kind of like a restaurant, Amos. If you go to a restaurant, you have a bad experience. Are you going to stop going to restaurants? We have to expose people and let them know, well, first of all, that you have to do it again. The first time you try to ride a bike, if you jumped on and just went, you're not going to ride it. It's just real. It's through the experience, and then helping them to see that it is possible by going through the experience with them. We don't ever take people through this process by themselves. We don't just turn them loose. We used to, and we didn't get the results because exactly what you're saying, the experiences they've had, the negative, bad service at a restaurant. It's true. We go through an experience, and then we think that's how it's always going to be. So we have to just help them to see, number one, that there is a better experience, and show them all the stories to help them believe, really. And then number two is to help them believe and understand that it's a skill, Amos. That's what's missing on our planet, is that these things for relationship take skill.
Yeah. And so really, it's like taking baby steps, right? We have a world, life is full of habits and cycles, right? So we have not because we ask not, but if we have something that we desire and we don't believe that we can get it, that's the first problem, right? So gaining confidence through communication, gaining confidence through a level of commitment and creating a habit, then kind of empowers us to think, okay, well, if I want this and I can create this, then maybe I can create the next thing that I want, right? It's those baby steps. It's taking one bite at a time. And like Carlos talked about, the compound effect. So you don't just necessarily have somebody who sees marriage as a pipeline dream, but, oh man, I've never experienced it, so I'm never going to get it, right? Well, we have to first exercise the baby steps of empowering confidence, which really has more to do with identity than anything. The identity crisis is where people lack even that confidence to attain that. That's where it starts.
And we have free stuff too, bro. We love giving to people and helping people. We know that they need the priming, if you would. They need the baby steps, like Chantel's saying. And we constantly are giving stuff away to help people. Obviously, when it involves our time and the more holistic package, then it costs. But to start with, we definitely give away all of our secrets, man. We're okay with it because we know we want to make a difference in the world, and we're willing to do that. And My Epic 30, we have a process, My Epic 30, that we have a book that we're willing to give to people, and it's the starting point to build that confidence, communication, commitment. It's kind of like saying, if you had a bad experience at a restaurant, you're never going to go to a restaurant again. Well, there's millions and millions of people that have gone to restaurants and have good experiences. So that's really what this is about. The more stories we create, the more people we help, the more believable it becomes. The Jesse and Irina Kaufmans, right? And then we've got the Jabel and Christina Miller. We've got Eric and Katrina Schleybaugh. And it just goes, the list goes on and on and on. The little couples that just came back from their honeymoon, that we introduced them through our process, and they got married, met through our community and got married, and then now coming back from their honeymoon. It's just, we have to just keep sharing the stories so that people can know and believe and understand that it is real and it does work.
I admire you guys are like, it's you guys have stepped up to slay a giant, because it's like people that are trying to, tell people that God's real, God loves you and wants good things for your life. They're up against a monumental fight because so many people have had bad experiences with, religion, God. So you guys are in that ring. I admire what you guys are doing. And I'd love it if you guys would drop your links after. I'll tag you in this so people can check out your free resources. And then, maybe they want to book a call with you. I admire your guys' tenacity to be in a fight that very few people want to fight. They don't really want to fight in that ring. A lot of people that I encounter, they're married, but it's not happily. And, or else they've been married, and it's very few people have had success in marriage. I think it's more common for success in business personally than success in marriage, because you don't have to sleep with them. You don't have to smell their bad breath, hear their farts, like all that stuff. And then be committed in spite of it. There's so many reasons to pull the pin for the faint of heart. And I don't blame them if they want to pull the pin, because man, it's a beast you guys are, going up against.
It's real. It's so real. And we would
100%.
love to do free strategy calls with anybody. It's not, I had someone message me the other day, would you talk to me and help me? Because that's really what we do. We want to process through and help and talk about your bad experiences, talk about what you've been through, and then help you to see that there's hope. And if we can, if we do 10 strategy calls and one person gets hope from that call with them, it was worth it all. And they're free. They're completely free, because we do want to make a difference. And through that process, we'll give you our free book. We'll give you our videos that go with it to help you understand how to do this process, 30-minute process. So reach out to us directly on Facebook. It's carlosandchantel.com. You can reach out to us on YouTube, Facebook, like, subscribe. We put content out there. We have private community, but that's even open to the public, because we want to give this stuff away and make a difference and bring true connection back to the home, and true commitment and love and honor and blessing. And so we're on a mission, brother, to really create extraordinary relationships, epic your life. And I'm super grateful to you, Amos, for what you and your community are doing. You're creating extraordinary, man. You're leading by example and empowering people to take their lives to the next level. And so thank you for your commitment and all you're doing, man. We want to support you and bless you, and on our side as well. So we'll be doing that.
Thank you. I love that you're here. There'll be people that resonate with this. There'll be people that want to, punch you guys in the face and go, that can't be real, because this was my experience. Or people that want to connect with you. I love stuff that's a bit divisive, because how else do we get our shit brought up unless someone presents something that counters what we currently believe? So at least it gives us a chance to go, is my actual belief correct or not? Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but how do we know unless someone pushes it back and goes, no, have you considered this? So I love it. I love what you guys are doing.
Different story, my friend. Currently, we're spinning in the story that we're living and recreating, right? You know that. That's what you teach with your empowered stuff. Mm-hmm. So the only way that we can have a new story is to ask someone else to give us a new story and give us new experiences and help us to see a different way. That's the only way. In business and life and money, in finances and in success. So it's the same in marriage. That's what we want to do. We'll give you our story. We'll work with you on how we do it. And we'll be glad to give you free stuff to bless you and help you get on your way.
Wow. Well, if you've been listening to Empower Network TV today or watching on the replay or on the recordings, Carlos and Chantel, Epic Your Life, reach out to them. Please drop your links, Carlos and Chantel, after in the comments here. Let
Right.
people know how to engage with you.
Yes.
I'm sure there'll be comments on this. So yeah, love what you guys are
We
doing.
love it.
Love how bold you are. It's amazing. It's inspiring.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks,
thanks for
Steph.
having us.
Bless you, man.
My pleasure. Thank you both. We'll
Take
chat
care.
soon.
All right.